Okay, so we've been taking this long journey, to get to the Shulchan Aruch, and we'll see. Maybe we'll take a quick peek at some point in the Mishnah Brewer. But I really want to start doing on comets and hurricanes and lightning and thunder, and it's really interesting Bracha. But I thought it would be nice. We'll do a couple more of the halakha in the Shulchan Aruch to really, everything that we've learned to put it all together here in the Shulchan Aruch. So once again, it's Rabbi Yosef Karo who wrote the Shulchan Aruch. And then, for the first time, because there's not a lot of machlokas, and because, interestingly enough, so Rabbi Karo wrote, basically the Shulchan Aruch is paskening in the Sephardi minchag. It's the Sephardi, halakha. And then the Ramah had the idea to write a Shulchan Aruch himself, but basically like a complementary, some kind of the same stature of halakhic sefer. But then once he knew that Rabbi Karo already did it, it was very humble. He had a very humble idea. And instead of writing his own halakhic sefer from all the, paskening all the Ashkenazi minhagim and the Ashkenazi halakha, he decided to just humble himself, and he just wrote a simple commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. So wherever the Shulchan Aruch is different for the halakha for an Ashkenazi, the Ramah, Rabbi Moshe Isserles, he'll write a simple commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. So we have our first Ramah today. So we're going to learn the Ramah, and we'll see how the Sephardi halakha is different.
It is printed in most versions of the Shulchan Aruch.
And then it's printed in most versions. So I don't know how it originally was. There was originally how there's all these mafarshim printed on everything is interesting to begin with. The Chumash didn't have Rashi on it. Rashi just took his own notes, around his Chumash, or he took his own notes, and then someone published his notes. Then someone published so same thing on the Gemara, and all the rest of the Mefarshim. They just published their own thing separately, and then editors came and then eventually published them all together. Okay, so we'll do halakha 5. Someone who had a miracle done for him, many miracles. So we saw the case. I think it was Mar B'rei Ravina. I think it was Mar the son of Ravina. He had 2 miracles. The Gemara gives a case where he had 2 miracles done. He was in the desert, and he was in real trouble because he didn't have any water, and he would have died of thirst. And then Hashem made a miracle where a miraculous spring came out in the desert, and he had 1 miracle there in the desert. Then he came into this marketplace, and he was attacked by a wild camel, and then another miracle happened, and and a house miraculously cracked open. He went in the crack of the house, the wall kind of cracked.
This person?
I believe, it would have to look it up again tomorrow. I believe it was Mar B'rei Ravina, so Mar the son of Ravina. And then the second miracle, he saved from this wild camel. So then he asked, or his minhag was that when he would go, let's say he went to the marketplace where he was attacked by the camel. So he would say the Bracha that, he was saved, by a miracle from the camel, and he was also saved by the well. So he would mention, once he was in a place where he would see where 1 miracle happened, he would thank Hashem not only for the 1 miracle, but it would include the other one. And let's say then, if he was in the desert where the well was, he would first thank Hashem for the miracle of the well, and then end the camel too. So he would thank Hashem for everything. Okay, so we're going to see what the halakha is. So he says, someone, she'asalo nes, that a miracle was done for him. So someone that a miracle was done for him, or miracles, nisim is miracles, many miracles. So someone had more than 1 miracle. It's incredible. It's incredible that someone in America had 1 miracle done for them, but he was such a great tzaddik, he had multiple miracles. So when he arrives, when he arrives to, it may have been 1. I wrote it as half here, but I think it's 1. I think it's probably 1. I think I wrote it wrong. I think it's le'achad. Does it say le'achad? It's halakha 5. I think it's le'achad. When he reaches to one place, he reaches basically to 1 place from all. So 1 place from all of the places.
That case wouldn't Nicole be from each of the places?
From each, you can say from each of the places. So that's right. That's a good. I had a Rabbi Daniel Wilner, and he gave me some really good advice. He says like sometimes when you literally start translating each word, you're not going to have a good English translation. You're going to sound like it's going to be like, he arrives from one, he arrives to one from all the places. It just doesn't sound right. So like we can make, right, we can, so what are you saying, what's the better,
Each.
from each, right? So that we can make it a better translation. But then when we're learning it, there's sometimes we want to study specifically each word and see the significance of each word. But yeah, just to get a nice translation, so from each of the places, right, from each of the places, went to the wrong places, that like was done, like that a miracle was done, lo, for him. Right, so basically it's this case. It's this, he's positing this case, two miracles, one was the miraculous well, one was the camel. What does a person do? So what he needs to do is Sarich, he needs to mention all the rest, kol sha'ar, all the rest of the places, hamakomos, of the places, shiachol, and then he can like kind of join them, he can include Vayichlu kalum, he can include bit in one bracha, So in one blessing. So we saw this, right? Here, I'll just write So we saw this in the Gemara, and the solution, was spelled out in the Gemara. I mean, Rabbi. So it's interesting. So Rabbi Karo in the Shulchan Aruch here, he didn't give the specific example from the Gemara. So if we go through. I don't think I brought my Shulchan Aruch. Can I just? Okay, here's an issue.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I apologize for this.
Yeah.
But it should be kulam and not klum.
Kulam. So kulam. Okay. Kulam. Right. All of them. Like kulam. Okay. If can I borrow your sheet real quick so we can. Let me just take a look at here. So let's see what the Magen Abraham says. We are on K. Let's see. All right, he was talking about the 30 days. And then, okay, so this is, okay, I think we'll just go through these. I don't think we'll get too tied down in these. Okay.
Do you need that for the shoe?
No, I think I'm gonna be
Because I can run down and
That's
get it.
okay. Okay, so that's the first halakha. That's halakha hey. But basically, it's saying because we said before. So one of the halakhas is right. If a miracle was done for a specific person, he uses sha'asali nes. Like Hashem did a nes for me. Like Bracha Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Like sha'asali nes. Like Hashem made a miracle. And then the halakha before this was like all the person's descendants, his sons, his grandsons, everyone that would not have been born if the miracle wasn't done for him. They also have the chiyuv, they have the obligation to make the bracha. Now what's interesting is the Ravid, even though no one agrees with the Ravid brings up a very interesting aspect of what all these birkas re'iyah are, what all these blessings of vision, what are they? And the Ravid comes up with an amazing analysis of it, and he says these brachas are really, and he's using it to kind of reinforce his position, but he's saying they're just shvach and they're hodah. So these brachas are praising Hashem. The essence of these brachas are praising Hashem and thankfulness. So it's a karsatov, it's a hodah, it's a thankfulness to Hashem. So then we can see why. So we see why, if we come to the place where the Jewish people crossed the Red Sea, we want to praise Hashem. When we see it, we want to praise Hashem for the great miracle that was done there. But there's also hodah. We wouldn't be here today. If we all got killed chas v'shalom in the Red Sea, history would have been very different. It's and then the Egyptians chased the Jewish people into the sea, and they all died, and there's no more Jewish people in the world, chas v'shalom. And the world would have existed one more rega, and it would have been completely destroyed because there would have been no purpose for the world. if there's no purpose, because fulfilling, the Torah, the blueprint of creation, and bringing the knowledge of Hashem into the world, that's it. That's the main, and really, in essence, why are we doing that? We're doing that so like all of mankind, including ourselves, can have a relationship with Hashem. Like, why did Hashem create everything? Hashem didn't create everything so some atheist in Minnesota could pretend that Hashem doesn't exist and that he's magically, created from a monkey. That's not why Hashem created the world. Hashem created the world to have a personal relationship with each neshama, with every soul that Hashem's created. And that's the whole purpose of the world. That's the purpose of the Torah. Like the Ramchal says in Das Savuna, this is why Hashem did it. This is why Hashem created everything. Hashem created it to give the ultimate good to everyone. But He gave us bechira, He gave us free will, so we could earn it. So we would earn all that good. We would earn all the reward, and we feel like it's really ours. And that's what we're doing here. So we're doing shvach and hodah. We're praising Hashem for the great miracles that He did, and then we're thanking Him. And we're having a karsatov, thankfulness to Hashem. And it's interesting. And it's all just through vision. This is not even, a lot of this is not even if a miracle actually happens for us. If a miracle happens for us, then we make the bracha, if we see the place, sha'asali, nace, like Hashem made a nace for you. But this is even just seeing a place where miracles happen for the whole Jewish people, or like sons and grandsons of seeing a place where a miracle happened for their father or grandfather. It's a pretty incredible concept. And here it even goes a step further, that if someone was so holy, and I hope I'm getting his name right, but let's Mar Beret Ravina, Mar the son of Ravina, if he was so holy that Hashem actually did 2 miracles just for him in his lifetime, saved him twice in a miraculous fashion. Not just saved him, we'll see one of the halachas, what if you just get saved in a natural way, but saved in a miraculous fashion twice, and then he has to make these 2 brachas.
How do you determine whether it's a nes? You make a bracha for a nes, or you make the regular?
Such a great question. So I think so. So you asked the question, and what did Hashem do? Hashem showed us. Hashem showed us in world history what just happened. Hezbollah, what was it, just 2 nights ago, 2 days ago? They wanted to send thousands and thousands of rockets into Israel, everywhere from northern Israel into Tel Aviv.
Right.
And then the Israeli, Air Force, they decided that they were going to take off hundreds of jet fighters, and they were going to take out the launchers before they could launch most of the little.
Right.
So it was a nace. The destruction would have been off the charts.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
But it's in the Teva. But that's in the Teva. It's not a revealed miracle.
No, one second.
So is it an ace or is it a
One
ten?
second.
It's a hidden. It's hidden. It's not really a nace.
I don't see it as a nest at all.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because two basic reasons is not a nest. One is the Arabs are too stupid to keep their mouths shut.
Can't hear us.
They should have kept their mouths shut if they wanted to do what they were supposed to do. Number one.
Okay.
The second reason not a nest is that Israel happens to have a phenomenal security service that knew exactly what they were planning to do and whether they were going to do this enough.
All right. Can I ask you a question on that?
Okay.
But then we just saw, unfortunately, we saw recently on the Shabbos of Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeret, on October 7th, unfortunately we saw the same top-notch, high-tech security system completely miss.
No,
completely
no, they didn't miss. No. From my vantage point,
Okay.
they were asleep at the wheel. They should be court-martialed. All of these Israelis should be court-martialed for missing the opportunity they were sleeping. Israel was sleeping. Finally, they know the story about the Japanese admiral. Japanese admiral said, "Don't wake up the sleeping giant."
Right.
So what happened here was the giant was sleeping, completely asleep, and now they woke up and now they're on top of the game right now. So I think what happened 2 nights ago was they're beginning to be on top of their game.
Okay.
Okay, and I think we have to thank Hashem for something,
Okay.
but it's not a nest at all. I think
Here's what I want to say.
two stupid
All right, so
things.
let's zoom out, right? We're gonna zoom the camera out. We're gonna look at the big picture. We're even gonna come behind the scenes. We're gonna come behind the scenes of all the lights and all the cameras and the whole cinema light. October the 7th, the horrible tragedy, right? Like, if we go to the great tragedies, the Holocaust, the destruction of the temple, like the Spanish Inquisition, they can only happen if Hashem lets it happen. If the Midas Adin, if
100%.
Chas v'Shalom, the Midas Adin, if the Midas Adin is so much and they're crying out and the Satan wins his case, Chas v'Shalom, but then Hashem lets it happen, so to speak.
100%.
And then if Hashem wants to stop it, Hashem's not going to let it happen. 2 days ago, it could have been the most disastrous destruction of Israel,
Hashem
where
said no.
people and buildings
Right.
and just horrible. And these are not toys; these are real missiles.
Right.
These people know how to shoot these things.
100%.
So it's like it's simple the matter of does Hashem let it happen or does Hashem stop it? So Hashem stopped this way. But it's in the Teva. So as you're even saying, like, I don't see it as a nace. I don't see it as a miracle because it's not a revealed nace. It's not a revealed miracle.
But so in an overall picture, you're saying it's a nest.
But I'm saying if those missiles were coming in, okay, and all of a sudden those missiles, I don't know, they turned into rainbows and like dissipated in the air and everyone saw it, like that's not normal. That's not the normal way the world functions. Something
That becomes
different.
a nace.
Then it becomes a nace, yeah. Right, so the oil in Hanukkah, right? The oil in Hanukkah. The Teva says that oil can only burn for 1 day. That oil keeps burning for 8 days. That's not the normal way of the world.
That's
Something different happened. It's supernatural, yeah.
So
So what happened, I think, 2 nights ago,
Yeah.
is a combination. Hashem put the hands up and said, sorry, we're not letting you in. But there were two things that really. Oh, you're saying that the.
So I'm saying
It
right.
doesn't matter.
Hashem
The rationale, the reason it doesn't count.
Hashem decreed it'll be stopped. So then now the IDF was at its best. Now the IDF they were at its best. Everyone was on the on the ball. They had the plan ready to go. They did it. They did whatever they needed to do and was stopped.
So what you're saying is very interesting. You're saying rationale doesn't count when a nest happens.
Yeah.
Right? Rationale doesn't count
Yeah.
when a nest happens.
Here, I'll give you a bigger example. Let's say they were asleep. Let's say if really it's like they're asleep at the wheel and that's what's going on. They were asleep again. They thought it was going to be the next day.
You mean now?
Now, 2 days ago, right?
Oh,
So they were
exactly.
asleep. And let's say someone like unplugged the Iron Dome. It's not you can't really unplug, but it's like there was a bug. There was a cyber attack, and Iran had completely like disabled the Iron Dome, and it was defenseless. Israel was defenseless, and they're on the airwaves. Iran's the Ayatollah he's telling the world, we hacked their Iron Dome. We're sending our missiles in. They're gone.
We got it.
And then all of a sudden, those missiles just stop in midair.
Right.
They freeze, or they're hit by like miraculous hail, or something out of the natural world happens. That's a nace. But it's always, but nothing is happening without Hashem's control.
Right.
Okay.
And you're saying this is what happened.
Yeah.
Basically, everything stopped in midair because Hashem said, I'm not letting this happen.
Yeah. So I mean, when the Iron Dome, I think one day soon we're going to see, because now they're starting to put these missile defense systems in other countries, and I think very soon we're going to start to see that there's a certain normal statistical probability of how many missiles can really intercept. It's not so pashut that you calculate, the computer's calculating on the fly the trajectory of the missile, and then it shoots another missile, and then the missile, comes into the same trajectory, and all the wind and all the different factors that can happen, and then it always intercepts these missiles. The rate of success is so ridiculously high right now in Israel, and they may not have that rate of success in other countries. Right? The great example I gave is the Scud missiles. Iraq kept shooting the Scud missiles into Israel. They had no effect. But later in the war, they used these same Scud missiles against the American troops, and unfortunately, they were very dangerous, very destructive, and they caused a lot of loss of life.
But I like what you're saying, that rationale, the reason for it not happening, Doesn't count.
But see,
It's up to Hashem.
Yeah, see, this is why, but what you're saying is really good, because I'm saying, this is what the Ravid's talking about. This shvach, this hodah, the fact that we have to make these brachas. Why do we have to make a bracha just because we see the place where the miracle of the Red Sea happened? Because people forget. Because it's so easy to get lost in the teva. It's so easy to get lost in the natural running of the world that people can forget Chas v'Shalom, and they can pretend that Hashem's not running everything, every little aspect, down to each little neutrino, electron, proton, neutron, billions, trillions, quadrillions, however crazy amount of all these little spheres, circling around, creating everything. They're all under Hashem's direct control. But then we fool ourselves. We get fooled, and that's why we need these brachas. That's why we need the mitzvos to constantly keep reminding ourselves. Hashem's, Hashem
watching
echad,
the show.
Hashem echad. It's only Hashem echad.
He's watching the show.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is huge, which is happening.
Okay. All right, so Vav, we're going on to Vav.
Go.
All right, so al nes. So on a miracle, right? Al nes. On a miracle. How's it going? On a miracle of his rabbi, his Rebbe. This is very interesting. So we saw that a person was hired to make a bracha if a miracle happened to his father or his grandfather, because he wouldn't have even been born. But there's a deeper aspect too. If his rabbi was not saved in a miraculous fashion by a miracle, he wouldn't have learned all that Torah. He wouldn't have gained all that wisdom. He wouldn't have got this spiritual life. We're saying the Father is giving him the physical life, but the rabbi gives someone our spiritual life. It gives us our real life in a sense. So then, if the rabbi was saved by a miracle, he needs, and just to clarify this is all these halakhas where it's talking about a rabbi. We don't really have it today. It's a rabbi muvchach. It's someone that was in that chain that we talked about last time around Pesach, the 40 Sanhedrins from Moshe Rabbeinu, right, until the end of the Sanhedrin. That this was the smicha that we don't have right now. This was the complete Torah Shobal Peh. So you learned from your rabbi the entire Torah that he learned from his rabbi, going all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu that he heard from Hashem. And we don't quite have that. We're learning, thank God we're learning the Mishnah, the Gemara, we're learning, all the Rishonim, the Acharonim, and we're learning the Halakha, and we're learning all this, but we're not learning it the way the chain was broken, unfortunately. The real chain of Smicha, and those 40 Sanhedrins, where they passed the Torah Shabbat exactly down as we received it at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai. Like, we don't quite have that. We have it written down, so we haven't lost it. We haven't lost the Torah Shabbat, but we don't really learn the whole Torah from one rabbi. So we don't really have a rabbi muvchach like this is really talking about. Someone could probably, I don't know, that would be interesting, Shaila. If someone had a rabbi they learned a lot from, they could probably, maybe make the bracha, but we'd have to look into that. But if it's like his main rabbi, the rabbi muvchach, and he's saved in a miraculous fashion, then he needs to make a bracha, right? He needs to make a bracha. Needs to make a blessing, kishem, just like he blesses on a miracle of his father, if it happened to his father. So just like he would make the blessing on the miracle that happened to his father, he will make the blessing on his rabbi. Okay, now, this is our first Ramah.
Can I ask a question
sure.
here?
Okay.
We learned some previous stuff. He doesn't say here you need to make a bracha on something that happened to your father, but he is saying.
Oh wait, I think we had that.
Like.
Oh wait, I think we had it was the halakha that came before.
It was in here in the Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah, so let me see that. So I think it was on. Let's see.
I guess I should have looked for that.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good question. So it's on. It's dollar.
Oh, okay.
So haroa makom shenasa nes liyachid eno mevarech. So when a person sees a place where a miracle is done for one person, he doesn't make a bracha. Aval hu atzmo, but the person himself that the miracle is done for, mivarek she'asa li nes b'makom hazeh. He says, like Hashem did a nes for me in this place. The kol yotze Yerecho, and all his descendants, all his children, gam kain mivarkin, they also make a bracha, and they say she'asa nes la'avi, to, you know, the nes was done for my father b'makom hazeh, in this place. Yeah, it's halakha dalet.
Right
Yeah,
after that.
it's halakha dalet. Yeah, no, we did it yesterday. Sorry.
So,
Yeah, so that's right. That's a great question. So why did he not do vav? Why did he not do vav after dalet? That's interesting. So he wanted to teach first. Now, one thing is that comes from a different place. I forgot who brings it in. I think that the idea of blessing on his rabbi, that comes from the Yerushalmi. It's not really the flow of the Bavli, and the Bavli just in the Gemara it just handles, you know, a miracle happens for one person. And then we saw the Rif and the Rav Haigon, they bring in, then the person, his son and his grandson make the blessing. I forgot who, I think it was the Beis Yosef that added like all the descendants, not Lav Dafka, I forgot exactly, but I think it was Beis Yosef, Lav Dafka, not exactly the son, the grandson, but all the descendants. So you're right, so in the flow here, they wanted to handle like the flow of the Gemara. You make a blessing, if a blessing happens for one person, that person, his son, his grandson, or all his descendants make a blessing. Then if two or more, one or, multiple miracles happen for that person, he makes both blessings of both miracles. I mean, he makes one blessing for both the miracles. And now he deals with the rabbi, because this is coming in from a different place. I think this is coming in for the Yerushalmi. That's right, he could have, it would have flowed very nice also if this was hay. Okay, you make a, there, and then also the rabbi, right? So, but I don't know. This is the way he wanted to organize it. Now, let's see what the Ramah. What's the Ramah gonna? Now, in Yesh Omrim, there are those that say. So what it is generally the minority opinion. It's generally not the accepted. Like, because we're gonna paskin like the Rov, we're gonna paskin like the majority. So the Yesh Omrim is generally like the differing opinion. It's usually the minority opinion because it's not the halakha. So, but there's other rabbis that say this. So it's like here's the halakha, but Yesh Omrim, there's other rabbis that say this. Now the Ramah is bringing this because this is going to be more of like how like the Ashkenazi halakha and minhagim go. So he's bringing this because here is where the Ashkenazi minhag or halakha, I don't know how to say it, it's going to differ from the Sephardi halakha. So Haggah is letting us know, right, this is the Ramah, this is like an editorial note on the Shulchan Aruch, and now he's going to bring a minority opinion, he's going to bring a Yesh Omrim, so it's like, it means literally like there is like there's those who say, there's probably a better way to say it, there are those, they say, Yesh is like there is. Omrim, like they say, like those sayers, those speakers, right? So they say, so Dehu Adin is like the halakha. Like what's the halakha? Dehu Adin is like what's the halakha? If Haroa, if the person sees, let's see, Adam Shinasalom, if the person sees, I think if someone else sees the miracle, this is very interesting, sees the miracle happen in the one person. So there's an Adam, he sees that a miracle was done for him, right? I think it means this. What I think is this. He's saying there's some, like let's say it's a Mar Beret Ravina, and he's saved from this wild camel, and like the house miraculously just cracked, and then he could go into the house, and then the camel couldn't get him. But there was somebody standing right here, and he saw the miracle. I think that's what the Ramah is talking about. He saw the miracle happen to the other person. Then what does he do? What does the guy? He saw it. He merited to be there. So then he's going to bless. It's very interesting. He blesses upon it, just like Kamo, like just like the person that blessed, Shemim Barek, he blessed on the place that the miracle was done, the miracle was done, right? And this is the Avu Deraha. Here, it's I don't have a really room here. It's brought by the Av Avu Daraham. I don't know how to say it. Daraham. He's another Rishon. And so maybe we'll go through the Magen Avraham on this. So I think that's what it's saying. I think it's saying like a person actually sees like the miracle being done to someone else for someone else. And so instead of just blessing on the place, like he's going to bless on, just like he's actually in the place while the miracle's actually happening. What if someone's actually there while the miracle's happening? Can I borrow your sheet real quick? Let me just see if there's Magen Avraham on this. So let's see. So V'yesh Omrim Dehava Hadin. So who Hadin? So the halach is also if someone sees, if a person sees, She'asan Lo Nes, that the miracle is done for him. He blesses upon it just like he would bless upon the place that the miracle was done. Let's see if anyone comments on this. Okay, so who Hadin Imro Arabi. Oh, even if he sees, also if he sees the Rabbi. So that's interesting. So then it's like someone, what if someone actually sees, like let's say the crossing of the Red Sea. So let's say some other guy's just standing, let's say Yisro, he's wandering around and he sees like the Red Sea splitting for the Jewish people. So then he could also make the Bracha. He can make the Bracha when he sees the miracle being done for an individual or the Rabbim, or the whole Jewish people. It's interesting because usually it's only like you only have a chiyuv to do it if the miracle happened for the whole Jewish people. And then if the miracle only happened for one person, it's only really that person and his descendants that have the obligation to make the bracha. But then if someone actually saw the miracle being done for someone else, they also now can be included in that because in some way like they merited to be there to see the miracle happen. So there's some kind of merit to be there to see it.
How do you know he just doesn't see that person later and he knows that the great miracle had happened?
Well, then we don't make a bracha on it. Because we're saying...
Only when you see the miracle.
Only when...
But here it doesn't say he sees the miracle, it says he sees the person.
Right, so the only special case for one person is we're going to see the Adam Mesuyam. If it's someone special, the stature of like... It gives the example of Saruya, Yoab and Saruya, like... David HaMelech's general, King David's general, someone of that stature. If a miracle happens for someone of that person's stature, great Jewish person, then everyone can make a bracha, even if it happened to one person. So let's say, or like someone that was like could have died al Shem Shemayim, l'Shem Shemayim, like someone that al Kiddush Hashem, like for instance, like Abraham, Daniel, they were thrown into the furnace. They really should have died. I mean, they were willingly giving their lives, sacrificed their lives to Hashem. But Hashem miraculously saved them. So if we know where that furnace is that Abraham was thrown into, even though we didn't see it, it's thousands of years ago, and it only happened to one person, but since Abraham's an Adam Mesuyam, he's a special person, or it's the case of someone that would have died al Kiddush Hashem, then we can make the bracha. So these are the exceptions. These are the special cases. Let's see. So maybe we should go. I'm sorry. Can I borrow the sheet one more time? Let me just see what the next one is. I think we're going to take a break soon, and then I think we may. Let me just run through instead of writing it all down. Let me just run through the rest real quick, and then we'll finish up. Okay. So after Vav, Zion is Hayachole Chutz Likarach. I'm sorry. Wrong section. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Zion is Al Neshel Adam Mesuyam. See, I gave the introduction. So if a miracle happens for a very special, distinguished person, so Ki Yoav ben Saruya v'Chaverav. So we talked about like someone of the stature of like Yoav, who was the general for King David, v'chein, and also Al Neshel Adam Shenis Kadesh Bo Shem Shemayim. Like upon a person that was willing to die al Kiddush Hashem, like he would have been killed in Hashem's name. Kigon, and it gives the example of Daniel v'Chaverav. So like Daniel was thrown by King Belshazzar into the lion's den. He was miraculously saved. So upon that, if we know where the lion's den is, right? If we know where the lion's den is, even though it was one person, it only happened to Daniel, but he's an Adam Mesuyam, and he was also the status of Daniel's the status of someone who was willing to die al Kiddush Hashem. Then we can make the bracha. So then it says Mivarech. So Lefika, so therefore Haroa Gov Aryos Shel Daniel, someone to see the den of lions of Daniel, the Kiv Shan Ha'esh, in the fiery furnace, the furnace, Shel Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. So Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So King Nebuchadnezzar was the first king of the Babylonian Empire. He was given a dream by Hashem, just like the Pharaoh in Egypt was given a dream. So Nebuchadnezzar, he was the first king of the Babylonian Empire. He was given a dream of all of world history. Hashem showed him all of world history. And Hashem showed him this great statue. The head of the statue was gold, and it's a vision of the 4 empires of history. So the head of the statue is gold, and that represented Nebuchadnezzar's empire, the Babylonian Empire. Then the arms and the chest were silver, and it represented the 2 countries of Persia and Media, the Persian Median Empire, the Persian Empire. Right? But it had 2 countries, so now it's the 2 arms. Then the stomach and the thighs are copper, brass, and it represents the Greek Empire. So if you notice, it's very interesting. It starts unified. It starts with just Alexander the Great, but then it splits off into 2 branches, because then his generals form, like 4 generals, split the empire into 2. Into 4 parts. So then it splits it into 2 legs. And then we can see the Greco-Roman. And then the legs of iron are the Roman Empire. We have the Eastern Roman Empire in Constantinople, now modern-day Turkey, and we have the Western Roman Empire in Rome. So we had the 2 legs, or the 2 parts of the Roman Empire, and then it comes into the 10 toes. We're now the 10 toes, right? And then the vision was like a stone's going to come flying through the air, and the stone, not carved by human hands, only by Hashem, is the Jewish people, and we're going to be led by Mashiach, and we're going to smash the 4 empires. And then it says, and then the little stone's going to grow into a great mountain, which means like Yerushalayim, the mountain of Jerusalem, Mount Moriah, and then all the world, and it's going to be 1 kingdom from then on. Okay, so Nebuchadnezzar said, that's great, that's fantastic. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a statue of all gold. So what's the message? What was Nebuchadnezzar's reaction? He builds a 60 almost statue, a massive statue, let's say 80 feet high, I don't know, very high, 90 feet high. What was Nebuchadnezzar's response? That's great. I'm not buying into these 4 kingdoms of history. I'll tell you how it's going to go. There's going to be 1 empire. It's going to be Babylon. You say I'm the gold head. All of world history is going to be gold. It's going to be Babylon. Babylonian history is going to last for all of world history. And it's never going to end. And I'll tell you what, you say the stone is going to destroy the statue, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make all the Jews bow down to the gold statue. Then Hashem's going to be angry at them. They're not going to be the stone that destroys the statue. It's only going to be Babylon, 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 all the time, Babylonian Empire. So 3 guys, right? Only 3 guys. So all the Jews, so it says in Masechta Megillah, the Jews bowed down to it. But they weren't worshiping it. They were just scared of Nebuchadnezzar. So their fear was like external. Their fear was external. They weren't really bowing down to it because they were worshiping it, but they were afraid of being killed by Nebuchadnezzar. But because of that, then we get the whole Haman Achashverosh thing to make up for that. But those 3 men that didn't bow down, right? So Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah refused to bow down to the statue. And because of that, Nebuchadnezzar threw them also into like a furnace, a Kivshan Aish. But they were miraculously saved. Okay, so if we ever find where that furnace is, we can make the Bracha, even though it only happened to 3 people. Right, so what the Shulchan Aruch is telling us is, even though it only happened to those 3 people, we make a special Bracha. Mevarek she'asa nes l'tzadikim b'makom hazeh. That Hashem made a miracle for tzadikim in this place. So if it's a great tzaddik, if it's like Daniel, or if it's Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, if it's one of the great tzaddikim, and even though they're 1 person or a couple people and a miracle happened for them, we can make this special bracha, she'asa nes l'tzadikim b'makom hazeh. Let's see, and the final one. So we didn't really learn so much about the wife of Lot turning into the salt, but the next halakha is haroeh ishto shel Lot. If someone knows where Lot's wife is, it turned into the pillar of salt. You can make 2 special brachas. So one, you make a bracha, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam dayan ha'emes, like Hashem's the true judge, because it was a nace. She was punished, right? She was punished because she was turned into the salt. We talked about this a few days ago. Like she was going, the Midrash says, like, you're not, it was against the law to have guests in Sodom. Lovely place, lovely city, you know. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah in that place. Like, no, but it's like they passed the law, like you couldn't give tzedakah, you couldn't give charity, you couldn't invite guests in your home, they didn't want strangers, they were all very, very wealthy, and it was just like, Beverly Hills, they all had their huge gates up, the gated community, and no one's getting in, no poor people are getting in, maybe to cut the lawn, but that's it. But like no poor people are getting in, and it's against the law to have guests, and then she goes around, she says, oh, I need some salt. She was going to our neighbors, do you have any salt? Why do you have salt? Oh, well, we have some guests, and we don't have any salt, and like, you're a guest. And then the huge mob came, so she was punished, midah kenega midah, measure for measure, and she was turned into a pillar of salt. So somewhere around the Dead Sea is a pillar of salt, we don't quite know where it is, and I assume it's going to be miraculously preserved, we'll see. I mean, you think salt wouldn't last, the first rainstorm, you think the pillar of salt's gone, but so somehow
salt is a preservative.
But it probably looks like her. It probably looks like her, and she's all salt, and it's some kind of miraculous thing. But one bracha we make is Baruch Dayan Emes when we see her, the pillar of salt, and then it says on Lot himself. And this is interesting. I don't know but on Lot himself, I don't know what that would mean. But we say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam zocher hasadikim, that Hashem remembers Sadiqim. Lot was miraculously saved, and because Lot was saved, what's so important? Because Lot, and then they give birth to the nations of Moab and Ammon, and out of Moab comes the holy Ruth, Sedekis, who's the great grandmother of King David, of David HaMelech, and then out of Ammon comes, I think, Nama, who married Shlomo HaMelech, who married King Solomon, and then they had the son Rechavam, and then Rechavam goes on to the line of the kings of Yehuda, but that's going to be Mashiach ben David. So there would be no Mashiach ben David if Lot wasn't saved, and so we make this bracha that Hashem remembers Tzaddikim. Okay, then the final one, the final halakha test, it's a Yesh Omrim, so it's a minority opinion again. So there's a Yesh Omrim. There's those who say, She'eno mevarech al nes ela b'nei shehu yotze meminchag olam. So Jack, this is your question. Okay, this is it. You're going to get the answer in this halakha. So there are those who say that we don't make a bracha on a miracle. We only make a bracha if it goes out from the minhag ha'olam. If it goes out from the laws of physics, if something's changed, if the normal way of the world. So, for instance, I think it was Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, like his daughter is crying Erev Shabbos because she put the vinegar into the candle, in the candles, and she wants to light the Shabbos candle, and the vinegar doesn't light, only olive oil lights. And Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, he says, look, the one who makes olive oil burn, the one who gave that quality into olive oil that it burns, and creates a fire, he can make vinegar do the same thing. He created the vinegar also. He can make a nace. So anything that goes out of the minhag olam, something goes out of the laws of physics, the laws of science, the laws, how we see the world working, ukiyotze bezeh, and something similar to that, eino chayav levarek, the person's not. So what we were just saying, this miraculous stopping of thousands of missiles 2 nights ago, that's just the normal way of the world. Well, the Iron Dome shot some down, the jet fighters took off, they shot every single one of the missile launchers, before they could launch most of the missiles. That's the normal way of the world. It's just a good military strategy, normal way of the world. If it doesn't go out of the minhag olam, we don't make a bracha. And he goes on, and he says, right, shehu minhag olam utoldo so. Like there's certain things, there's certain events that cause other events. Like we do natural things in the world. You shoot a missile at something, it's generally going to explode. Like that's the way of the world. So it says, and then he says, on that, we don't. It says, Kagon, Shabao Ginavim Belayla. So like people, there's thieves that come on a person in the middle of the night. Uba Lidei Sakana Venitzol. And the danger comes on him and he's safe. Let's say someone, some family, they're on the road, they're taking a trip, and all of a sudden these thieves come out and they have guns and they're pointing the guns. And then guess what happens? Then a police car shows up, sirens go on, the police get out of the car, and the police hold up the guns, and now they catch the bad guys. But it's unusual. It doesn't, outside movies and TV shows, it doesn't happen all the time, but it's in the way of the world that happened. Right? It's the way of the world that it could work.
Nothing supernatural.
Not supernatural. So Eino Chayav L'Rex. In that case, we wouldn't. They probably bench Gomel, but they're not going to make a Bracha on an ace. But Yesh Cholek. But there's those argue, and they say V'tov L'Rex. It's good, but below he's Keresh Shemu Malchus. So he's saying no. There's opinion. There's another opinion that says that family, they were attacked by these thieves. These all these gangbangers that coming out of the cars. They're pointing the guns at them. And all of a sudden, it just happened to be that these cop cars show up and they catch the guys. So what the other opinion is, no, you make a bracha, you say Baruch that a nace happened. Baruch she'asali nace. Baruch. You don't say Baruch atah Hashem and Melech haolam. You don't give the shame and the malchus, but you say Baruch. You may say Baruch Hashem. I don't know, but Baruch she'asali nace. Like that Hashem made for me a nace, that I was saved. And you're recognizing the Yad Hashem. You're recognizing that was something out of the ordinary. Cops don't always show up the exact second that the robbery's happening, but you don't use shame or malchus. So
based upon what you just said, what happened 2 nights ago, bench Gomel or Bracha for Nes?
I would say if you're living somewhere in Israel and you see the missile heading towards your house, and then you see the missile from the Iron Dome come and shoot it down. At the minimum, you could bench Gomer. But according to this other Yesh Kolich, you could do Baruch Sha'asali Nes, but you don't use Shem or Malchus.
You don't use Shem.
You don't use Shem or Malchus.
I see.
Yeah. So that's why probably Gomel's probably the best way to go.
Yeah.
Or you could do something nice. You could give a nice donation.
But this whole thing.
Yeah.
Right now, if you sit back and you watch the show right now, and you go to Shul on Shabbat, Gomel or Nes?
I think Gomel. Now, if you have 10 missiles heading towards your house, and like we talked about, I can give this example. The missiles stop, a whole thousands of birds come, and then they lift up the missiles and they take the missiles out to the Mediterranean, and that's so far out of the natural world. Then you can make the bracha of a nace that Hashem made a nace for you, and every time you see that place after 30 days, you can say the bracha again. All right, so we'll take a break, and then we're going to start. It's going to be very exciting. We're starting comets. We're starting hurricanes, lightning, thunder. It's going to be amazing. We're going to go back into tomorrow. Okay. Let me pause this. I was a little worried about this though. So people